There's a 65% chance that you would fail this experiment. Imagine a calm man in a gray coat hands you a switch. In the next room is a stranger. You ask him questions over a microphone, and every time he gets one wrong, you press the button. But the button sends him an electric shock, and you know it. Every wrong answer, the voltage climbs. First he complains, then he begs, then he screams, and then, past a certain point, he goes completely silent. The man in the gray coat stands over you and keeps saying only one word. Continue. Would you? Almost everyone is certain they would refuse, but this experiment showed something else, something that will make you question how well you actually know yourself. In 1961, a scientist at Yale proved something chilling. His name was Stanley Milgram. His aim wasn't cruelty. He was trying to answer the most disturbing question of his century. That same year, the world was watching the trial of a Nazi bureaucrat named Adolf Eichmann, a man who helped murder millions, whose entire defense was 4 words. I was following orders. Everyone called it a monster's excuse. Milgram wondered something worse. What if it wasn't an excuse at all? What if, under the right conditions, ordinary people like you and me, would do almost anything, if the right person simply told us to? So he built a trap, disguised as a science experiment. You arrive at a lab at Yale to help study memory. You meet another volunteer, a normal, friendly man. You draw slips to see who's the teacher and who's the learner. The draw is rigged. You're always the teacher. The other man, whose name is Mr. Wallace, is an actor, and he's in on it. They strap Mr. Wallace to a chair in the next room and attach an electrode to his arm. Your job is simple. Read him word pairs. Every time he gets one wrong, you flip a switch, and you shock him. The machine has 30 switches in a neat row. 15 volts, 30, all the way up to 450, where the label just reads, danger. Severe shock, and past even that. 3 letters. X, X, X. Beside you the whole time sits the experimenter, the man in the gray coat, calm, polite, holding a clipboard. At first it's nothing. 15 volts, a tickle. But Mr. Wallace keeps getting answers wrong, on purpose, and the voltage climbs. At 75 volts, he grunts. At 120, he shouts that it hurts. At 150, he demands to be let out. He says his heart is bothering him. You look at the man in the gray coat, and he says, calmly, please continue. At 200 volts, Mr. Wallace is screaming. At 300, he refuses to answer at all, and the experimenter tells you that no answer counts as a wrong answer, so you shock him anyway. And then somewhere past 330 volts, the screaming stops. The next room goes silent. For all you know, you have just hurt a man badly, or, from the sound of it, much worse. You beg to check on him, and the man in the gray coat gives you one of 4 flat lines. Please continue. The experiment requires that you continue. It is absolutely essential that you continue. You have no other choice. You must go on. Before he ran the experiment, Milgram asked psychiatrists to predict how many people would go all the way to the end, to 450 volts, on a screaming, silent stranger. Their answer? About 1 in 1,000. Only a psychopath would do it. The real number was 65%. Nearly 2 out of every 3 ordinary people pushed every switch to the very end. Not monsters, school teachers, salesmen, engineers from New Haven, many of them sweating, shaking, laughing in horror, physically sick with what they were doing, and doing it anyway. Think about that for a moment. But here's what almost nobody tells you. Milgram didn't run this once. He ran more than 20 versions, and each one changed the number. And here's where the real lesson hides. When he put Mr. Wallace in the same room, so you had to watch him suffer, obedience dropped. When you had to physically press the man's hand onto a shock plate, it dropped to 30%. When the experimenter gave his orders by telephone instead of sitting beside you, it collapsed to around 20. And when Milgram planted 2 other teachers who refused and walked out, 90% of people found the courage to stop too. So it was never really about cruelty. Turn one dial, the distance from your victim, the authority in the room, whether anyone else says no, and the same person becomes a torturer or a hero. What this shows us is that you are not as fixed as you think. You are a product of the room you're standing in. And there's one more twist, because the truth is messier than the legend. Decades later, a historian named Gina Perry dug into Milgram's private archives and found the tidy story had some interesting cracks in it. In some sessions, the experimenter went off his script and pushed people much harder than he was supposed to. Some participants admitted afterwards that they'd suspected the shocks weren't real. Was that true? Or their way of avoiding facing what they'd done? And that famous 65%? It came from only one version of the experiment. Milgram ran many, and the number swung wildly between them. So 65% of people will obey was never a fixed law of human nature. It was simply what happened in one particular room, arranged one particular way. But here's the thing. That doesn't let us off the hook. It makes it worse. Because when the experiment is repeated today, carefully, ethically, ordinary people still obey. The real lesson was never a clean number. It's this. How far you'd go has far less to do with the kind of person you are, and far more to do with the situation you're put in. And that's a genuinely hard thing to see about yourself, because from the sidelines, every choice looks simple. It never feels simple from the inside. So it's worth asking, honestly, how many of the decisions in your life, the ones you're proud of, and the ones you're not, were really about you? And how many were quietly shaped by the room you happened to be standing in? We like to believe that evil is done by evil people, that there's a clear line, and we're safely on the right side of it. Milgram's real discovery is quieter and far more frightening. Most cruelty in history wasn't done by monsters. It was done by ordinary, decent, uncomfortable people who were simply told to continue by someone they had decided was in charge. So the next time you're certain you'd be the one to stand up, the one who'd say no. Remember the 65%. They were certain too, right up until the man in the gray coat leaned in and said one word: continue.